Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Sunny today, but it's cool. Okay, I'm gonna redo this from last year. This had the irrigation tubing and string because I had, as you can see, beans were crawling up it. But now I've got a tomato plant that's doing fairly well. But here is the issue. When I put this together, see, I didn't put the tubing in this. This has been over a year. It's probably been here 2 years like this. But I do want to get some tubing in here. And there's a lot of tricks to do it without moving any of the soil. Because I've got lettuce growing in here, mustard, and now I've got broccoli. Tomato plants coming up. I've got kale all in one tote. Can you see that? So I'm going to take you with me so you can watch me do this. And hopefully it will give you some ideas on this. This tomato, I don't like the way it looks. Even though it's throwing tomatoes, I may end up taking that out. But it's in a pot, so I can just move the pot. But this one, as you can see, is coming from the soil. It came up, a volunteer, and it looks pretty good. Let me move this. So let's see how we can do this, because I'm going to do this a lot differently than the way I did it last year. Because I could string it, but I think I want to take the strings off. I'm debating, because look, over a year ago, and that masking tape is still holding really nice. It's just taped on. But, you know, I think I want to change it up as I go through all these totes. So let me show you what I'm doing. So now you know how I love my irrigation tubing. It holds the tomato stakes or sticks or bamboo sticks perfectly, anything you want to use. Now this particular tote is already established and I don't want to be digging up the soil. So I want to put some irrigation tubing in there and strap it in with some zip ties. Now to do that, instead of digging it out, like I told you, you can dig out some of the soil. You can take the irrigation tubing and you can put a stick inside, a branch, or you can put the tomato stake inside. And then what you do is push it into the soil, both of them together. See how I've pushed? I know my tomato plant's on the way there, but see, I push it together inside the tote. If you can go to the bottom, that's fine, but you don't always have to go all the way to the bottom. Now, when I pull the stake out, there will already be the empty space because no soil got in there. Everything got pushed out. So this way you can insert the irrigation tubing to hold your tomato stake in an established tote and be able to anchor in your sticks. The irrigation tubing holds it really good. That's why I love that. Now I take a hot soldering iron. You know how I love my soldering iron. Perfect tool for the garden. And I'm going to make 2 holes. The reason I have to make 2 holes is I'm going to use a zip tie. You can use wire, you can use whatever you want, but here I made 2 holes. See the 2 holes side by side? Now all I have to do, and you could do it in 2 places if you want, put in 2 zip ties, but I find one is enough. And now I just slip in a nice size zip tie. I don't get the tiniest ones anymore. They're too hard to handle. I get the next size up. They cost like just a little tiny bit more. Instead of getting maybe 100 in a package, you might get 60 or 70. That's good enough for me. And now you take your zip tie, and I like doing it on the inside of the tote. This way you won't get hung up. Even though here you won't, I still like doing it on the inside. I think it looks cleaner from the outside. And then I just zip tie it, and there it is. That easy to do. Cool? Isn't that beautiful? And now it's going to hold the tomato stake, and I can pull it out if I want to and change the tomato stake also. Now what I'm going to do here is remove the tubing I put on last year. This is really easy. It just slides on. It's like Lincoln Logs or Legos or an erector set, whatever. It just, you can put it together and change it up all you want. So I am now going to put a cross beam, and I'm going to cross beam it. You'll have to watch me here and I know it's hard to see, but you'll get an idea. Is I cut a piece of irrigation tubing that will go the entire length, a little longer, because I'm making large holes on each end. Make sure you make the holes the same way, up and down, or it won't slide on the 2 tomato stakes on each side. You'll see as I go along. I should have taken off the string first. You would have been able to see better. But I'm making a hole on each side of the irrigation tubing. 1 hole on one side, and right now 1 hole on the other. The hole will be big enough to slide, this will slide on to the tomato stake. You'll see as I go. It's really easy. And then I'm going to measure it by eye and kind of holding it up. And I'm going to put a 3rd hole, not quite in the middle, but where that extra stake is. By doing it this way, I now am building a trellis. And this is like pennies. This is the cheapest thing you can get. It has been working fantastic. It lasts. I haven't had a single one crack or anything. They hold up really good. But right now I only want to do a simple trellis because I'm only dealing with one tomato plant. And I can add on later if I wanted to too. Now see how I got it? I'm making my third hole now. I've got one on each side. And like I said, you want to make sure that the holes are facing up. So that's the only big deal you've got to look for, is make sure those holes are facing the same way, or you'll slide it on one end and it won't slide on the other. You got the idea. Now I'm going to make that third hole, which is kind of in the middle. And with a hot soldering iron, it will go right through. And then I'll have all 3 tomato stakes anchored there. It really works fantastic. Just kind of push it through and make that hole, and then you're going to put the whole thing together. So now it's just a matter of sliding on that one irrigation tubing that you made those 3 holes on. So you push it on one side, just push it down, give it a good push, and it will. And the tomato stakes have those ridges, so it really holds good. But you can use bamboo sticks or branches, whatever you've got. Now, see, I've got to take that off for now, but I'm going to put it back. That's going back. I like the top heading on that. Now I'm going to put it in the middle. See, now I've got them that way. And then one more I've got to put on the other side, but I've got to put back the tubing, the curved one on the top of this trellis, so it will hold. Otherwise it will just fall off. So now I'll go to the other side and I'll slip on that third hole on that third tomato stake. This has just been a dream to work in the garden with, because you can change it up at just the drop of a hat. You could run out there and change it, add to it, or whatever. Look at that. Is that not cool? And just push it down. And look, you've got, for what? That whole thing costs me 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 cents of tubing. And then I can change it. I could add more. I could take it down. You could use it next year, and you can move it around. Just too easy. And I decided to take the string off. I'm not going to grow beans in there right now, and it'll look cleaner, and I don't need it. And that's it. Look at that. See how the tubing is slid onto the tomato stakes, and it's really nice and sturdy. It's going to hold whatever I've got there. Even watermelon it would hold, but right now it's just to hold on the tomato. Now, I didn't have the corners on that with the irrigation tubing. I might change it up later. I just have it wrapped in wire, but for now I'm going to leave it because it's got a good support on the top being held. Isn't that cool? You could put something else on the top. You could pull it down shorter if you want and do what you want with it. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to tie this tomato plant up. Now this was a volunteer and it came up in this tote, and it's doing so well I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to stake this tomato plant up on that stake I just put in. I take my string, and I'm going to use the string that I had. I know it's old already, but it's holding up good. And I wrap it around, and then I'm going to tie it with a surgical knot. That's basically, instead of just looping it in, 2 or 3 times, you do it on the 4th time. And it really holds better is what it is. And then you could just tie it again like that. Now I got it really taut on the tomato stake, so it's not going to slide, go up and down or anything. Now what I'm going to do is wrap it around the tomato plant exactly where I want it to stand up against the pole, and I'm going to tie it, but I'm not going to tie it tight. I'm going to make sure the string is loose so it can move in the wind and the plant can continue to grow. If you tie it too tight, you'll strangle your tomato plant. You don't want to do that. The tomato plant will need to move. It's growing right now. It's just a baby plant. So you don't want to tie it really tight, or it can strangle it. And on top of that, it's got trichomes on it, and that protects the plant. You don't want to damage that too much either. If it rubs too much, it could end up getting a wound on there, and who knows what could get inside the plant. So this way it's got freedom to move around and to grow nice and tall. You can always cut the string off later and change it around as the plant's growing too. And then I just trim it, and that's it. Now here I cut another piece. Now if you want, it could be for looks or a little more stability. Look at that. You can slide this in. Pull it down to your other one, and look at this. Look how nice that looks. Now it's got a little extra support, and all you did was build a little puzzle. And you can make multiple bars across if you wanted to, but this is going to be perfect for what I want. Isn't that cool? You could stick a flag on top of that one too now. Isn't that nice and neat looking? So I hope I've given you some ideas on how to go ahead and stake up in different fashions with the irrigation tubing. That's what, 10 cents a foot? You can't get cheaper than that. And well, that doesn't work. It's an old solar light and it's got a hummingbird on it. I was gonna toss it out, but look at that. Now it's a little ornament, like a tree topper on top of my tomato stake I made now. Isn't that cute? So it turned out it had a use after all. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Oh, she's looking now. Look at this. Oh, the video's over. Do I get broccoli? Okay, you get broccoli. Let's go over here. Let's see if we got little bits. Little bits are good for her. All right, here's a little bit. She just says, okay, video's over. Oh, you are just too funny. But you were sleeping on the job today, kitty.